My lords, ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back to Transport Fever 2 as we continue the Oh Canada Let's Play Transport Fever 2 series, where we've taken a custom map from the Steam Workshop that's been based in and around Calgary and the Rocky Mountain region of Canada, and we're setting up a transport company for this region. In the last episode, what we got done was a couple of freight lines running through the Rocky Mountains, one shipping coal and one shipping iron ore, and they both run to a steel mill that we have nestled nicely in the middle of the Rocky Mountains. After getting that set up, I think what I'd like to try and do in this episode is run a line out of the Rocky Mountains now from pretty much where we're currently sat right here, which is at the junction point between the coal freight line and the iron ore freight line, and I'd like to run the line all the way through the Rocky Mountains past the towns of say Banff and Canmore, and then we'll merge out here and connect into our freight line down here, and then we can start transporting the steel over to this goods factory here in Calgary. And given the distance that the train will be running, much like our coal freight line and our iron ore freight line, any trains running this line with a full delivery should be able to make us a nice bit of money indeed. So let's get started straight away with that. We'll start by selecting the track tool and then picking an appropriate place where we want to branch off from these freight lines here, so we can head out towards Calgary in order to get the line set up and the steel delivered. So I'm thinking the best sort of place to diverge this line would be in and around this area here, because then if we branch off somewhere like this, we could head through this valley here, down through Banff, past Canmore, and then we're pretty much there. So if we head back to this little section here and then look to take a line off our existing freight line like so, if we keep it flat, oh no, that's not giving us a nice junction at all, is it? How is that? Terrible. Rather than mess about like that, let's just make it parallel, so then you're guaranteed to get a nice junction, aren't you? There we go. And now you can start doing your own thing. And we want to be heading around here and over to the right. So if we start heading right now, we'll keep him at this same sort of elevation, I think, because I believe, I haven't checked it on the contour map, but I believe we're roughly where we need to be in terms of our elevation against this terrain elevation over here. Could be wrong, but we'll find out in a few moments. Okay, so that's fine. Yes, those level crossings aren't the best, and it's made some weird hills and stuff on the roads, but I'm not actually using those roads, so that's not a problem, and we can always redo them afterwards. I'd rather get the train line as best we can, rather than try and fit it in and around a road that we don't even use in the first place. And moving on, where are we heading now? Okay, so if we come sort of like that, but we want to head downwards, maybe not so steeply, because we want to come out of this mountain on this sort of level here without the need for any excessive bridges. Like so. That was almost perfect. I'm very pleased with that, and now we can just continue onwards. So there's the town of Banff over there, and that's the sort of direction we are hoping to head. However, I'm not keen on ploughing just straight through the mountains, because while it obviously does work and it's the most efficient way to do it, it's also a little bit like easy mode, if that makes any sense. I prefer, you know, no idea why, but I do prefer to try and make it fit in around the landscape somewhat, even if it is going to cost you time and money doing that. If nothing else, it does mean the scenery looks a lot better, so, you know, that's my justification anyway, and I'm sticking with it. So let's continue on. how we're looking there. I mean, you can't avoid all tunnels and bridges in a mountain railway, let's be honest, so having some of them isn't an issue. What I just don't want to do is just go straight line, voodoo, huge tunnel, and, you know, job's done. I prefer to try and, like I said, just make it follow the lay of the land a little bit, just to make it look a bit more natural looking, and like the engineers who laid it down took into account the contours of the land as they, you know, as they do in real life, rather than just saying, hey, we want to get through these mountains. Okay, let's get a tunnel going. Now, where are we coming out there? We're very high up, aren't we? We really want to be down at this sort of level in the valley floor, so if we come off to the right, left, I do know my right, yeah, I know my right and left. We're not going right, we're going left, like that. Keep him hard down to the ground as best we can. There we go. I mean, we are even coming down at the maximum permissible slope for a train line. We are still, although we're not as high up as we were last time, I don't think, and I think we've come out at a decent place here, because what we can do is just come along the side of the mountain just a fraction like this and bleed off some elevation this way. Are we even heading down? It's deceptive, isn't it? It doesn't look like you're coming down at all, but clearly we are. And no. See, the problem here is we don't want to plough this line straight through this town, if at all possible. Let's just rethink it again, just a touch, and perhaps we'll say, instead of turning off to the right, we'll come off to the left. Can we come out without having a secondary tunnel? No, it doesn't look like it. How does that look? Yes, it is actually. It is very steep. There's nothing we can do about that. Could we just... What would a bridge straight across this valley look like? It looks quite impressive, actually. I'm not too fussed by that. Let's try that instead and just take him back a bit. We want to start curving off to the right to come in to the mountain edge and run along that. Sort of like, yes, just like that. That's better, I think. Yes, this seems to... I think this is going to be a better way to handle it. And then follow the edge of the mountain down. And then we're getting close to the level of the valley floor. So at this point, if we turn off our override on the track gradient and just allow the game to determine the best gradient for the track. Okay, we're heading the wrong way there. Well done. We want to be heading that way. That's better. Do we want to head back up alongside the mountain? I don't know. Oh, no. We want to head that way. The reason being is the town of Canmore is all spread along the left-hand side of this river, and we have not enough room, or not a lot. We don't have a lot of room to put the freight line in on the left side of this river. So if we come over to the right, there's no buildings on this side, so we can have a lot of room to work with, and it won't impact the city of Canmore or the town of Canmore. It won't look too ridiculous having a freight line running above the top of a city. So we're going to come this way instead, keeping it relatively flat. Perhaps we don't need a... I don't think we need a bridge if we can avoid it, not at this point. Here we go, yes. I've curved that a little bit too much, that's better. Straight there, and then we want to emerge from the Rocky Mountains, nice and easy. And we want to start heading upwards, I think, because obviously the industrial park at Calgary is raised up above sea level. So if we take him to the mountains or the hillside's edge, he can follow the, the rise in the hill. And it's going to be easier for him to... Oh no, that's too tight. I left myself not enough room there. Take that back just a fraction, just like so. and then come off this road. Do we want to bridge? Not really. Okay, we'll have to keep... Oh my life, I had what I wanted, and then I got rid of it. Yeah, that's fine. That's what I want. And where are we heading? I can see one of our train markers over there, which is obviously exactly where we need to go. So he's on the same line that we're hoping to connect into with this line. That was ideal. So we're getting, I think, close to where we need to be. Still climbing the side of this hill nicely. And then once we get to the top, it should be relatively straightforward. And it's just a case of connecting into the freight line where our wheat haulage trains are currently running from, what was the town? Cochrane? No, not Cochrane. Yes, it was Cochrane. Cochrane Farms, that's correct. And we're going to share that line. And this is the one where the steel, that's how the steel mill train is also going to gain access to the industrial park as well. Okay, very close now. How do we want to connect it in? I think we get a nice connection if we come off like that. Let's just check the junction. That's not great. How does that look? Let's just adjust that. There we go. That's a little better. And then into there. And that will do quite nicely. So while we're here, let's just go ahead and put the signals here for the junction, for the merge point between these two lines. We also want to have a signal by the iron ore mine where we branched off from the mountain freight line, which was here. Like that. There we go. And I do believe the only thing we have left to do is actually assigning the line itself. So let's go from Donald Freight Station all the way out to, not Cochrane Farms, no, wrong one. There we go. This is steel, so we'll give it a steel sort of colour. And we'll tell him to stay on station no more than 60 seconds if he can. And you're only going to take the steel. So you don't need to pick up anything else that's being dropped off. Likewise, you're not going to load anything at Calgary as well, so we'll just specify that. And then we'll call this steel freight, and this is coming from Donald to Calgary. And then we can go ahead and purchase a train. May as well use this depot. This does have access, and it gives the steel mill time to kick into production. So let's do that. Should we go straight for the Inyo again? It is the most powerful train, and it's probably what we're looking for, you know, power, especially because we're running through the mountains. And shall we say 84 in terms of our capacity? In fact, no, probably don't even need that. In fact, I'll say one more, 63. That's what I'm going to go with. That's 3.8 million. We have 300,000, so let's just pick it back up in a few moments once we've got the money to purchase this train. Okay, so we've now got we've got 6.2 million, more than enough. So let's go ahead and purchase that train, sign him on the line, and away he goes. We'll come back to that towards the end of the episode to have a look at his viewpoint and what sort of scenery he can expect to enjoy when he's running his line. But for now I want to head back to the steel mill and check that has kickstarted some sort of production. No, because we have no iron. Okay. Well, that'll be yeah, that won't help, will it, not having any iron in stock? Where is the iron train? Oh, he's not close to getting back now. Okay, so that's fine. I'm gonna, yeah, have the date paused and run it at 4 times acceleration of it, just to make sure everything beds in correctly. And in the meantime, let's just head back over to this sort of area and check how our other lines are getting on and whether anything needs any attention and any remedial action taking. Okay, the immediate thing I see is this platform is empty. Our trucks aren't leaving fully loaded because of that, whereas this one is overloaded. So we probably want to go and change these line rates here. So Calgary Central, you have a rate of 61, and Calgary Central has a demand of 69, so that's fine. It's just a production issue. However, this one clearly isn't keeping up. We have a rate of 18, and there's a demand in Northeast Calgary of 62. So if we go ahead and double these vehicles on this line, we have 5, so we'll set that to 10. And that'll see some of this food shipped out quite nicely. Over here, we have build-ups on the platforms, but that's okay. As long as they're not overloaded, I can live with it for the time being. One thing I want to check is what line is our steel freight line coming into. It looks like it's coming onto this platform, perhaps. Yes, it must be. Now, ideally, we don't want that. We don't want too many lines sharing a single platform, because that's when you start getting slowdowns, as trains are waiting for other trains to clear. So if we put a new track in at the station, and then get the track tool here, extend it outwards, and can then connect it in to this line here, we can instead assign our steel train to utilise this new platform. We'll go ahead and put some signals. We don't have any signals here, no. So we could put a signal. No, that's the wrong way. Let's go ahead and get a signal in there. That's all signalled up, so that's okay. And then if we go to the terminal overview and the steel freight, if you go to terminal 1 instead, that just spreads the load out across the different platforms a bit easier and a bit nicer. And that should help alleviate trains, as I said, getting stuck. Well, not so much stuck, but trains just sitting around on the lines because there's a couple of trains ahead of them and they're all sharing the one platform. Here comes our train now through past Canmore, heading towards Banff. I think that bridge there, the view from Banff with that new viaduct heading across the span of the valley, is quite scenic and quite nice. Here comes a train now, thundering along. Obviously, that's only because he's going at 4 times acceleration. In reality, he's probably doing about 35 miles per hour, or 40. So, hardly thundering along. But there he goes anyway. Let's just have a look what he's going to look like as he crosses the bridge. That could be quite cinematic and the sort of thing that you're going to put on your postcards back home. There we go. Yes, very nice. Not so nice when you sink into the ground, but there you go. Okay, so the iron ore train is almost back at the iron ore mine. That gives me a perfect opportunity to duplicate that train and maintain a decent sort of line balance, because one's down at this end of the line and one's up at this end. Where's the coal freight train? He's just left, but unfortunately, however, we don't have enough money to duplicate and produce another train at this point. But we will obviously want to have a second coal train running the line. And if we just check... Wow, that's a nice and profitable line. Is the iron ore one the same? Yep. Perfect. So these lines are just going to make us money from now until the end of time, I will imagine. What sort of line assignment have we done here? Yeah, that's okay. The coal and iron are clearly sharing a platform, but I can live with that for the time being. It's not going to, cause the end of the world, hopefully. Hopefully. We have steel being produced, ready to be collected. At the moment, we have 41. What sort of capacity did our train have? It wasn't 82, I know that. We did take it back just a fraction. Where is the train? He must have passed, well, he definitely passed Banff, because we watched him come over the bridge. Is this him here? Yes, he is 63. So he might not have a full load waiting for him by the time he returns or by the time he arrives at this station. But he's going to have a decent enough of a load that he should make quite a bit of money when he does drop it off in Calgary. So that'll give us a good indicator as to how profitable that train and that line is going to be. There's a bit of passing loop action as our new, yes, is that the new iron ore train? No, that's the old one. He's fully loaded. Okay, as the two iron ore trains pass one another. Coal train is that the one? No, I think he must be further back still. Oh no, he's ahead of us. Where's he gone? That's the iron train. I seem to have misplaced a train, which is a little bit awkward. Oh, there it is. I thought it was iron. I don't know what I thought. I just got a bit confused there, evidently. But no harm done. We found it in the end. And there's the steel train. I take it we've had no further production down here because I think they are waiting on a shipment of coal. Well, coal and iron. So that looks like that won't increase much more than 41. But that's okay. As I said, it should be enough to give a good indication as to what sort of profits we can expect from this line. I mean, if only what's that, about a three-quarter or a 2/3 capacity load, and if that ends up making us several £1,000,000, then I think we can safely assume that a full load is only going to, make things a lot happier and a lot better. Okay then, so while we're waiting for trains to arrive and get where they need to go, I would like to think about what we want to do in the future, perhaps in the next episode. And I'm thinking perhaps it's time to start putting in some passenger rail lines as well. And we'd say I think we discussed this previously, but we'll have a station in Calgary here, which should probably serve these 3 districts, and then one somewhere in this area for these 3 districts. But either way, we'll put a station in Calgary, I think, in the next episode. And the first sort of town we want to be heading to, if we just look at our town sizes, Irukana has a population of 205. Bottrell's quite small. Cochrane's quite a viable candidate as well. Okotoks, or maybe not Pridis. I mean, these towns would be a lot easier to run a line to because the train is reasonably flat. But I think we shall opt to set up a line between Calgary and Cochrane, in a passenger line, I should stress. Yes, a passenger line. And we'll start working on the passenger rail network. And I think what I will also do is, between episodes, I'll go and open street maps and get a rough idea as to the layout of the passenger lines in Calgary and the surrounding areas. And while I won't do a recreation, I will try and, at least have a nod towards reality and how things look in reality. Okay, we have a lot of money all of a sudden, so that means... Oh, he did have a full delivery, excellent. So our coal and iron trains must have made a delivery in the very recent past. So, what we can do now is duplicate that one. The spacing isn't going to be the best because they're quite close to each other when you consider how long the overall line is. However, they should space themselves out nicely over time. Just turn it back down to normal settings. And what I also want to do now is start adding some secondary passing loops on the coal line, because now we have 2 trains. We want to make sure the coal trains could pass each other in this sort of area as well. We don't need to double track the whole lot, just put enough space in that the trains don't have to wait around too long. Although, I'm just looking here, we have bridge, bridge, tunnel. Bridge, 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 tunnel. Do you know what? I think I might just go ahead and double track it. Because there's not enough space between all those bridges and tunnels to comfortably start a passing loop. I mean, you can have passing loops on bridges, obviously, you can double track a bridge. But there's nowhere to branch it off to start it. And that's what was troubling me. So to overcome that, I'll just go ahead and have a double track all the way down here. Well, not all the way, perhaps down to about this far. And then if the trains have to wait around here to pass one another, then so be it. No, for a start. Absolutely not. I'm not sure why you opted to do it that way, game. That's a little bug I've noticed lately, and I'm not sure where it's come from or why it happens. That's better. So let's go ahead and then get the signals up here. These will be one way. We don't need that many blocks at this point. There's only 2 trains running down here. So we can afford to have nicely spaced out blocks. Which obviously keeps down some maintenance costs. Because you have less signals to pay for. Not that they cost a lot of money, but every little helps. Okay, there we go. And what I'll also do off camera is just go over the ballast in the middle to get rid of the grass. And I think that should do nicely. Yeah. Everything seems to be up and running quite smoothly, touch wood, so far. So what we'll do now, again, we'll just accelerate to 4 times acceleration. Put the date progression down to 1/4 speed. And where's our steel train? Is that, yes, train 15. Oh no, that's the new coal train I just purchased. This one must be the steel train, yep. I'd like to see what sort of income he's going to generate per trip, especially now that he's got a full load. Okay, what I want to do now then is... We're getting close to a sort of natural endpoint for the episode, but I would like to see what sort of money this train's going to generate for us, the steel train, now that he has a full load. So I'll put a quick jump in here and I'll pick it back up once the steel train's getting close to dropping off at Calgary. We can see how much he's going to make per journey, and then I think we'll call this episode done. Okay, so here he comes now. He's just coming into the station and he is going to make us, let's have a look now, 5.4 million. Perfect. That's a lovely amount, just what you want to see. The reason I've just, sorry if you're wondering what I'm doing over here, I had another you shall not pass moment where 2 trains are squaring off against one another, so I've just had to reverse one. But I didn't want to reverse him the entire way back along the line. So I've just picked him up there and sent him back towards the drop-off point over here. And yes, so I think what we'll do now, we'll call this episode a day. We've got the rest of the Rocky Mountain freight line set up. Well, not the rest of it, that's not it completed. Not by any stretch of the imagination, obviously. But at least we now have steel being pumped out and delivered over to Calgary. Not that it's being used for anything at the moment, but it's... apart from obviously lining their own pockets, we're not actually converting it into any other products. But it's a decent money maker for us, as we just saw, about £5.4 million. Chuck that on top of our profitable iron ore and coal lines that we put in the last episode. We now have a very, very solid bedrock from which to build upon, and we should have a decent supply of money coming in from here on out. We just quickly check these lines while we're in this vicinity before we end. As we can see, we're profitable across the board. Our coal freight line is just making us a small fortune. The iron freight line is the same. And we've also reduced the time gap between deliveries. As we can see, before it was like every 2 years or so. Now we're getting it every year, which is excellent. I'm going to guess that's the same over here as well. Yes, on average, it looks like we are going to be reducing the frequency between deliveries, so that's going to help our profit margins as well. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. As I said, in the next one, what we'll start doing is working on some passenger train lines in and around Calgary, and I'll take some time in between this episode and the next one to look at the OpenStreetMaps and try and get a rough idea as to where the trains lay and the tracks lay in reality, even though we're not going for a recreation. As I said earlier, we'll just have that little nod to reality. So all that means for me to say is, as always, ladies and gentlemen, you take the very best of care of yourselves. Ta-ta for now.